Hello, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to the Crowd Chair Podcast. Today we're gonna do some college football picks. Normally I have my mic on me, but today I don't because it just doesn't really pick me up that well. So I'm just gonna go without it today. Maybe I'll find like another one that works a bit better and actually picks me up. Because a lot of times with the one that I have, it just doesn't ever hear me. It is a PS4 earbud, so I could see it. But I am going to go with just this today. So anyways, last week we did miss last week. I mean, I think we put on our Instagram page all of our picks for the week, but I was kind of in a rush to get out of the house because I was going on vacation, and videos that I did make, I never remember to upload before I left. So can't really upload them when I'm gone. And we're getting to these a little bit later as well. We've all been pretty busy, so none of us have really been able to get these videos out and get them to you guys. But we are going to be doing these a little bit later. So I am doing this on a Friday, and so we're just getting these done really, really quickly before all the games happen. Of course, we did miss the Thursday night football stuff. We'll do the NFL episode. I'm doing this one first. I'll do the NFL episode next. Well, let's get into the college segment to start off here. So we all know how this works. We always start with shockers of the week, and I'm the only one obviously here today, so I'll start us off. I'm going with the Duke Blue Devils over the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Sounds interesting, because you'd think that Duke would be the favorite since they are 5-0, but they've kind of had some rather porous competition, so not everyone's really sold on the Blue Devils yet. So Duke, I think, is 8.5 point underdog on the road against Georgia Tech. It should be a really interesting game. I think Duke will keep it very close. Georgia Tech's got a solid team, but I am going to go with the Blue Devils to get a close win. It's definitely it's a solid line. It's one I could very much see happening. I think it's a 50-50 type game. I copied Ole Miss in South Carolina because that one is Sam's shocker this week. He is taking the Gamecocks to knock off the Rebels of Ole Miss. Sam and Serbinsky both last week got their shockers, with Serbinsky getting Colorado over UCF, who absolutely obliterated UCF, and Sam, who got Arizona over Utah. We already said Sam is going with Ole Miss over South Carolina. Or I'm sorry, South Carolina over Ole Miss, or the way around. And Serbansky, he is going to go with the Stanford Cardinal to take down Virginia Tech on the road. Now, I don't know their records. I don't have this one on here, but I know Virginia Tech is at home. But Virginia Tech was supposed to be like the dark horse candidate to win the ACC, and they really just have not been anything close to that. And they've definitely been a bit of a disappointment, I would say, to a lot of people, as I think Virginia Tech was kind of seen as like, the dark horse candidate, the look out for them type team, and it's not, they've not been that really much at all. Um, so we'll see how that one goes. Definitely should be a fun one. Stanford's another interesting team because they seem to be all over the place themselves. So let's just get into our picks for this week. And considering that we had two, that we had the Armed Force Academy, the Army Academies going against each other this week, I figured I'd go with that one first. We got Navy, who's 4-0, going on the road to take on Air Force, who's the past few years has been the good one out of the three, but this year 1-3, not a good start for them. Um, I'm going with Navy, but these games, who the heck knows? I mean, and that's why I put it on here. I mean, you see like 4-0 and 1-3, you're like, what is this game doing on here? Because of course I pick the best games of the week, and then I put them on here. We always do 20 a week. We pick the best ones, and we pick the best ones Well, yes, the records don't look very good, but this is Navy and Air Force. Anything that involves the Army Academy, the Armed Force Academies, it almost always is a great game because you just don't know what the heck is going to happen because all they do is run the ball. And it doesn't matter of who's stronger. So it's always fun to watch these games. Of course, we got Army Navy that will happen at the end of the year, which both teams are 4-0. Kind of crazy to think about. But I am going to go with Navy because I don't really know anything about them, and Navy's 4-0. So give me Navy. I don't I don't really know. Um, Sam's pick is, I'm pretty sure we all actually went with Navy this week. By the way, of course, you always see how I update the records throughout the week. Yeah, I'm trailing these two by I skipped Sermensky. But yeah, I'm trailing these two by a country mile right now. They are blowing me out of the stinking water. Maybe this is my week I can catch up. I don't think so, though. I'm pretty sure we all went similar picks. So yes, I do have Zerbensky and Sam's picks for this week. So I will be updating us as we go through this. Next, we have the Deep South's oldest rivalry. I believe that's what it's called. The Auburn Tigers going on the road to take on the Georgia Bulldogs, coming off a tough loss at the hands of Alabama. Sam's got Georgia. Pretty sure Stravinsky has Georgia. Let me just make sure they both are going dogs. I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Yep, they both went Georgia. I'm going with Georgia too. Listen, after last week, you get bombarded by the hands of Alabama. I thought Georgia looked a little bit better in that game. They did late, but that first half was a complete embarrassment. I mean, they looked awful, especially in that first quarter. I mean, they were down 28 to nothing. It was not pretty. Georgia was getting their butts handed over to them, and it was a bad look. Such a bad look that I ended up going to bed. Well, actually, at first I turned it off because I went to Penn State, Illinois. And then when it looked like Illinois was probably going to go down, I went to bed. And then I woke up and it was 41-34. Georgia ended up losing by 7. I'm like, what? But a tough loss. They. I mean, apparently, because I didn't watch it. They had a great second half. They tried to make a comeback. They fell short. They're gonna absolutely smoke Auburn. Auburn does not look good this year. Hugh Freeze not getting it done over there thus far. It's still rough days over there in Auburn. So I am going to go with the Bulldogs to get the win, get themselves back on that winning track. And I mean, they're going to make the playoff, but it was a tough loss. USC, number 11 in the country, going on the road to take on Minnesota. You know, I don't think this really takes much questioning. Yes, it's a road game. Yes, USC is going from the West Coast to more so to yeah, I'd say Midwest. Um, this is definitely a game that I'd say USC maybe it's kind of like a trap game because next week they do have Penn State, so maybe they overlook Minnesota, but I can't see Minnesota really make. I mean, maybe Minnesota makes it a game for a half, but then USC runs away with it. I think the Trojans are just too good for the Gophers to really keep up with them, especially on the offensive end. So I am going to go with USC. Srbensky is also going to go with USC, and I'm pretty sure it's a Trojan sweep, and it is. Everyone here has the USC Trojans. And next up, we have the Iowa Hawkeyes going to the Horseshoe in Columbus to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Don't think this really needs much saying either, as we all are going to be going with Ohio State. Look, Iowa's just that kind of team that unless if the opposing team scores more than like 14, they're never going to win. I mean, that's just what it is. That's just how it is for Iowa because they never have they don't have offense. and they still don't. I mean, yeah, they brought in Cade McNamara to try and fix that, to try and give them an offensive pulse, but it hasn't done anything. And it continues just to be a struggle bus for the Hawkeyes to move the football. And you're not moving it against that Ohio State defense. Not to mention, Iowa's defense is going to have its own problems trying to deal with the Buckeye offense. I mean, you got Travion Henderson. You got Jeremiah Smith, who looks like an absolute stud. Emeka Ibuka. I'm forgetting Quinshawn Judkins. I mean, Ohio State's got weapons all over the place on offense, and that's going to be enough of a problem for Iowa to deal with on defense, let alone their offensive issues. So I do think Iowa's a solid team. I don't think they're terrible. I still think they're a decent team, but they're nowhere near the talent level of Ohio State. That could be a rude weakening for them. Next we have the 5-0, 23rd ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Go figure. Heading on the road to take on Northwestern. Um, this is an interesting one because I did not expect Indiana to be nearly this good to start the year. Granted, they haven't really played anyone, but I did not expect them to be this good to start the year. um, but Northwestern is not that special of a team. I could see Indiana keeping it going. Give me the Hoosiers. Like Northwestern's not special. There's nothing to look at for them. Indiana's off to a nice start to the year. Kind of weird to think they could be 6-0, but that's where we're going right now. So give me the Hoosiers. Give me Indiana. And I'm pretty sure it's actually an Indiana sweep once again. I'm pretty sure we're pretty much just all on the same page this week. Yep, it is all Indiana. We all are going Hoosiers. Next, we have Boston College going on the road to Charlottesville to take on the Virginia Cavaliers. I'm pretty sure this is the Boston College sweep, and it is. We all have Boston College. Um, Thomas Castellanos, the starting quarterback for Boston College, was out last week when they played Western Kentucky, and they lost to Western Kentucky, but he's supposed to be playing this week. That's going to be the difference in this game. I think Boston College takes care of business. They're a pretty good looking football team when that guy is playing. He can run like a deer. I mean, he's an outstanding runner. And in terms of throwing, he's not necessarily great, but he can run really well. And Virginia is not that good. So I think Castellanos will have a he'll have a good time with the Cavaliers. Next, we have Colorado State going on the road to take on Oregon State, future Pac 12 matchup here, as Colorado State has now joined the Pac 12 along with literally every other state college from the Mountain West. Fresno State, Boise State, Colorado State. It's all states. Utah State. That was another state I'm forgetting, I think. Anyways, Oregon State, Colorado State. I'll take Oregon State. I don't know anything about Colorado State. Don't really know much about Oregon State either, but it's a home game for the Beavers. And Colorado State did not do too well at home against their arch rivals of Colorado. Who I don't know. I'm taking Oregon State because that's the one college I really know a lot about. I don't know anything about Colorado State. So give me Oregon State. I'm pretty sure it's an Oregon State sweep. It is. We are all still on the same page here. Well, we might end up having the same record if we keep going at this pace. Next, we have UCF going on the road to take on the Florida Gators. Kind of a slowly bubbling rivalry here, mostly for UCF, not for Florida. Sam and Serbensky both have taken the Florida Gators, as they both have the Gator Chomp winning defending home turf in Gainesville. And this is where we finally split because I do not have Florida. I am taking UCF. I do not like this Florida team at all. They're not good. I mean, they did beat Mississippi State, but that's not a good team either. UCF did have a sloppy game last week against Colorado. Their defense was absolutely shredded to pieces. But I like this UCF team way more than I do Florida. The Gators just do not look sharp. I mean, they got pummeled by Miami, Florida. Um, or wasn't it Texas A&M that beat them too? And it wasn't really all that interesting of a game. The Florida just doesn't look good. Billy Napier's job is very much on the line. They could end up missing a bowl game this year. UCF's got a former SEC quarterback and KJ Jefferson. He knows the SEC. He's done it before. Former Arkansas quarterback. He was decent for the Razorbacks. I think the Golden Knights get it done. Of course, also coached by former SEC coach and Gus Malzahn. I like all the ingredients go in UCS favor here. I'll go with the Golden Knights to get, yes, you can call it an upset. Next, we have the Pitt Panthers on the road taking on the North Carolina Tar Heels. You can't give up 70 points to James Madison and think you're going to beat an undefeated team. I don't care who it is. I don't trust North Carolina anymore. Gave up 70 points to James Madison. I mean that's mine and at home. Like that's just beyond mind-boggling. And also not to mention the fact they're also on their like third string quarterback, whoever it is that they're playing. They lost Max Johnson in Minnesota, which kind of threw their season for a loop. So I'm going to go with the Pitt Panthers in this one, led by Bama transfer Eli Holstein. I believe that's how you say it. But I'll go with the Pitt Panthers, which it is a Pitt Panthers split, or I'm sorry, sweep. I keep saying split instead of sweep. Very different meanings there. I will go with the Pitt Panthers in a sweep and Pitt Panthers sweep here for this matchup. Next, we have West Virginia going on the road to take on Oklahoma State. I believe this might be a Cowboys sweep, and it is. Because I have Oklahoma State winning this one, and they both do as well. So we all got Cowboys. They took a loss last week. They actually lost two straight now. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. They've lost two straight now. Lost at the hands of Utah at home 2 weeks ago. Or it may have been, no, I think it was 2 weeks ago. They lost at the hands of Utah a couple weeks ago at home by 3, and then last week they went to it was 2 weeks ago, and then last week went on the road against Kansas State, and that did not go well for the Cowboys. They got annihilated. Kansas State dropped 42 on them. Oklahoma State only able to put up 20, dropped them out of the top 25. This is a Oklahoma State team that I was supposed to really, honestly, I think was probably one of the top teams to win the Big 12 this year, and they're nowhere close. I mean, they dropping 2 games in the conference, that's an absolute killer. And, Ollie Gordon has not been, I mean, he's been solid. He's been who he is. I mean, he's not putting up crazy numbers, but the rest of the team has not really delivered for them, and it definitely is hurting. So we all got Oklahoma State though in this one. West Virginia has not delivered either, so we are going with the Cowboys. Next, we have SMU going on the road to take on Louisville. Uh, SMU is this is a 50-50 game. I could see anybody winning this. I am going with the home team. I am taking Louisville to get the win at home in this one, but SMU's got a really talented offense. They can score on just about anyone. This is a clean sweep for Louisville, by the way. We all are going with the Louisville Cardinals. Um, but I could see anybody winning this game. This should be a fun one. SMU likes to score. Louisville likes to score. Both of them have been pretty close to some better teams. SMU only lost by 3 to BYU. Louisville just last week downed by a touchdown by Notre Dame on the road. Both of these teams have got some pretty both of these teams are pretty stinking good. I am going to go with the Cardinals though in a very tight one. Could be high scoring. We shall see. Next, we have an interesting road game for Miami, Florida, number 8 in the country. who heads on the road to take on the Cal Golden Bears. This is also going to be a Miami, Florida clean sweep. This is one of the few weeks where we actually pretty much agree on almost literally everything. That's not one. This is one of those weird ACC games because you have a team on in literally the Atlantic coast in Miami, Florida, going all the way to the Pacific coast in the Atlantic Coast Conference to take on California because that makes total sense. But no, but legitimately, this Cal team is ordinary. It's not amazing. Miami, Florida, Cam Ward has been on fire to start the year. And this is a late night game. So maybe, maybe Miami gets caught off guard. They don't have a big game as far as I know next week. But maybe Miami gets caught off guard. Travel maybe makes it I think it'll be a closer game. I think maybe Cal makes it interesting, but at the end of the day, this should be an easy win for the Hurricanes. I don't really see. I don't see an upset here, but I do think it could be a little closer than people would expect. Next, you have Tennessee going on the road to take on Arkansas. Tennessee is looking like one of the best teams in the country. I'm not picking against them until someone proves that they're not dynamite. I mean, they have looked, the defense has looked pretty sharp with the potential number one pick in the draft coming up this year, and James Pierce. Their quarterback looks outstanding. Right now, Tennessee looks like, I mean, the SEC, you always got to have teams to beat. But right now, Tennessee, along with maybe Alabama now, they're looking like the teams, and Texas. There's a lot of great teams in the SEC, but I think Tennessee is up there with one of the better teams in that conference. This is a clean sweep for Tennessee. Everyone here has got the Volunteers. Next, we have the Ole Miss Rebels after a disappointing upset last week at home at the hands of Kentucky, who heads on the road to try and bounce back against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Sam does not think they will bounce back because he has South Carolina. This is another one of the times where we end up disagreeing here. He does have the Gamecocks. This is a shocker of the week as well. So he does have South Carolina. Both me and Serbenski are going Ole Miss. After this last week's complete abysmal disappointment and really utter shock for many fans, and a very disappointing loss, I don't think Ole Miss drops another one. I think they bounce back. They have a huge rebound. South Carolina's not a great team. I think Ole Miss gets it done and rebounds after a disappointing week last week. Next, we have the Duke Blue Devils going on the road to take on Georgia Tech. Duke at 5-0. Impressive start to the year, although they haven't beaten anyone. They've made it tight against a couple teams. Duke also isn't even getting votes to be ranked, which I kind of think is crazy, but at the same time, I don't because, again, they haven't beaten anyone. But normally, even if you haven't beaten anyone, if you're still undefeated, you're getting votes. But Duke isn't even getting votes, which is kind of crazy. But Georgia Tech, these are both, I think, solid teams. Duke has former Texas quarterback Malik Murphy in town. Coming off a really tight game against North Carolina last week, where the Blue Devils were able to pull out or pull through. I can't talk today, guys. I'm sorry. We're able to pull through. Georgia Tech, decent start to the year. This is one of those 50-50 games. I did take Duke as my shocker. I want to stick with them, but I feel like Georgia Tech has a slight upper hand, so I'm going to go with the Yellow Jackets here. Um, I can't go again. The only reason I take Duke as a shocker is because I legitimately can see it happening, and 8.5 points is pretty good. But this is anybody's game. I'm gonna go with Georgia Tech, but this is a total crapshoot. I really have no idea who's gonna win this game. Uh, and I think actually everybody else here has Georgia Tech as well. Yeah, that is the consensus pick here. So we all have Yellow Jackets at home. Next, we have the Texas Tech Red Raiders taking on the Arizona Wildcats, who just came off that huge win on the road against Utah. Big win for them. So Sam's pick for this one, I'm pretty sure that Sam went with Arizona here. Yes, he did. And then Srebensky, let's see. I mean, he had to have taken Arizona. Yeah, he took Arizona. Gee, wonder why. I, I'm also gonna go with Arizona though in this one. This is another one. This is one of those games where I feel like it's gonna. I mean, it seems to be something that happens with pretty much every game that involves Texas Tech now. Like, who gets the ball last? Like, that's like the story of every Texas Tech game right now is who's getting the ball last, and whoever gets the ball last, that's who's winning the game. And this is probably gonna be one of those games again because Arizona they don't really play a ton of defense really, and Texas Tech certainly doesn't play defense. So it's going to be interesting. Arizona can play defense. We have seen that, but they've also had games like against New Mexico to start the year where they didn't really touch defense at all. So it's a total unknown here. But I am going to go with Arizona. Should be a really tight one and should be a fun one for sure. Next, we have our Friday night game, which is coming up in a few hours here. Actually, 4 hours, 4 hours here. The Syracuse Orange on the road against 25th ranked UNLV, one of two 25th ranked teams this week, as weird as that is to say. But UNLV's had a really nice start to the year. Of course, their quarterback left because of the NIL stuff, which has been quite the story here as of late. But I like UNLV in this one, especially at home. I don't think the Orange will have just enough. Um, I am going to go with UNLV. It should be a really close game, and I really do think it's anybody's game. But I am going to go with the home team and the team that's had a really nice hot start to the season so far. Sam is going to go with UNLV, and I'm sure you kind of guessed it. But yeah, Trubensky is taking Syracuse. I'm not sure he'll ever pick against the Orange for obvious reasons. um, so next we go to Lincoln, Nebraska, where we have the Cornhusker, or we have the Rutgers. We have Rutgers going on the road to take on Nebraska here. Um, Another interesting game. I believe this is actually though going to be. It is. We are going a clean sweep in favor of Nebraska. This is another one of those games where I could see, again, anyone winning. Rutgers has had an outstanding start to the season. They've been really impressive. They have, honestly, I mean, 4-0 start to the season. They look really good. Just last week at home, beating Washington, who isn't great, but it's still a win against a decent opponent. I really I've been impressed by what Rutgers has done so far to start the season. Nebraska, same thing. They've had a really nice start to the year. They took a loss in the hands of Illinois. Uh, was it 2 weeks ago? They just beat Purdue, I think, this week. But these are both pretty solid teams. This should be really tight. But Nebraska's the home team. I'll give the Huskers the slight edge. Anyone's game, it should be really close once again. I say that a lot of these games, but that one specifically, gonna be really close, gonna be really tight. Don't miss it. Next we have probably the saddest ever national championship rematch. The Michigan Wolverines will go on the road to take on Washington in a championship rematch of just this past season. Only thing is, neither one of these teams look like what they did from last year. Washington obviously has lost a ton of their talent from last year. A lot of their defensive guys either went to the NFL or transferred, and pretty much every single offensive player they owned went to the NFL. So there's nothing left for Washington. It's kind of been evidenced as they lost on the road to Rutgers this past week. They also took a loss at home to Washington State in the Apple Cup earlier this year. They really have just not looked that special. And then as for the Wolverines, we don't have a quarterback. We lost a lot too. We lost a lot on the defensive end. Of course, we lost J.J. McCarthy. We lost Blake Corum. I mean, we lost several key players, but out of the two shells of championship teams here, I like the shell of Michigan a little bit better than I do the shell of Washington. It is a road game, and it'll be the first road game of the season for Michigan. And so that's probably gonna be on there. But this is the first road game of the year for Wolverines. But yeah, Washington's bad. I don't like what they have. It's a lot of, I mean, it's a lot new for both teams. But like I said, the shell of Michigan is a bit better than the shell of Washington because Michigan might end up still maybe. I don't know. Actually, no, they won't. Um, Michigan, though, I do have them winning this one. It should be really close. I still think we'll be like right there at the end of the game. Uh, and it'll be a close one toward all the way to the end, but I do have the Wolverines winning. And well, we are a Michigan podcast, so you can probably guess that even though they don't look great, we're all taking Michigan. Shocker there. Next, we have our game of the week, which I talked about the national championship rematch being the saddest championship rematch. This is a rather uninspiring game of the week because we have Missouri, who's looked pretty good this year, going on the road to take on one of the other 25th ranked team this week in Texas A&M. This is not the greatest of weeks, guys, but there's still going to be some competitive football, which is always what I'm here for. This actually should be pretty competitive. It is a road game, but I do think Missouri is the much better team. We are all going to be going with Missouri for this one, but I do think Missouri can make this. Or I'm sorry, that Texas A&M can make this one pretty close. Kyle Field is a very difficult place to play. I mean, ask Alabama. They took an upset there just 2 years ago, or was it? No, yes, was 2 years ago, or a few years ago, whenever it was. It's very hard to win at Kyle Field. I mean, Notre Dame. I mean, they did earlier this year, but it's not easy to win there, and it can be pretty difficult. And Texas A&M is still a very new team, obviously. A lot of new pieces, new head coach, new everything. But I do like Missouri better than this one. Good quarterback. You got a decent pair of running backs to replace Cody Schrader. You also have, of course, Luther Burden, who has looked awesome. This is a good Missouri team, certainly better than Texas A&M. I'll go with the Tigers, although I could see the Aggies maybe pulling out an upset here, but it would be tough. And that is it for our picks this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week, assuming we get out on time. But we should get out on time. I'll make sure of it this time. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll have to see. Might have time. But until next time, adios, everyone.